everyone, it's Miss O'Donnell. We are going to start our new unit today on circles. So what we're going to do is just go through some of the definitions that you're going to need to know. So I'm going to go through the slides with you. Feel free to pause it and go back if I go a little too fast, or pause it to answer the questions that are in here. So first thing from GeoVocab, you should remember the definition of circles, which is all the points the same distance from a center point. So here we have our center point. All the points on the circle are going to be the same distance from there. The circles are going to be named after their center. So this circle would be called circle A. If I change this to a B, it would be circle B, circle K, circle L, whatever the center point is. You may already know what a radius is. We used it when we were finding area, but a radius goes from the center to a point on the circle. It's going to be a segment, which you should remember is a line that has two endpoints, A and B. We're going to name it from their endpoints. Down here, you'll see it says AB. You could also name it BA. That's called a radius. A new one that we're going to learn is a chord. So a chord's also a segment, has two endpoints. B and A, but instead of going to the center, it's going to go from one point on the circle to another point on the circle. We could call this BC, we could call it CB. It's a segment. And then the last segment is going to be a diameter, which we also talked about. It's like a double radius. It's going to be a chord, so it goes from one point on the circle to the other point of the circle, but the main difference is that it passes through the center. So this could be BD, it could be DB, BD or DB. So looking at this circle, you can pause for a second and try to name me a chord. So you should have picked UR or RU. Another one you could have picked is technically TW or WT, which is a diameter, but we learned that diameters are chords. So now name for me a radius. So remember, radiuses go from the center out, so you could have picked QS, QT, or QW. And those were all the segments that are inside a circle. So there are two more that we're going to learn, but these are lines. So instead of having endpoints, they have two arrows. They cross a circle at C and B, so this would be line CB, BC, and this is called a secant. So that's a new word. It's a line. It's crossing through the center or the circle at 2 points, C and B. If the line crosses at only 1 point, that's called a tangent. You might remember tangent from trig. This is completely different. All right, so this is a line, has two arrows. It's touching the circle at only 1 point, this point B right here, and that's called a tangent. That point where it crosses, we call the point of tangency. And something that makes it a little bit special is if I were to draw a radius, like if I drew a line from B to A, the tangent would be perpendicular to the radius at the point of tangency, which you'll remember perpendicular means it creates a right angle. So that's just a little fun fact. This tangent line is perpendicular to the radius. So this is the same circle from earlier. This time try to find a secant. So you should have chosen this guy right here, Vx. Remember, secants are lines, so we want something that has arrows. And secants cross 2 times. So we want a line that crosses 2 times. Vx, xv is a secant. Now try to find a tangent. All right, you should have chosen this guy up here, sy. Tangents, remember, only cross 1 time. They have arrows. This point right here, S, would be the point of tangency. Remember, SQ and SY would be perpendicular. This would be a right angle. So those are all the lines in a circle. Here's a little diagram showing them all. If you're feeling good, you can keep going. If you're not feeling so good, I've added a video, so you can find a video on Google Classroom that'll explain this a little bit differently. But if you're feeling good, just keep on going. We're going to talk about one more thing, which are arcs. So lines, all the things we just talked about, go either inside the circle or through the circle. Arcs are going to go around the circle. So it's going to be somewhere around the outside is called an arc. So they're going to be measured in degrees. You'll remember angles are measured in degrees. Arcs are also going to be measured in degrees. So for example, this blue guy right here, maybe he's 80 degrees. If you were to go all the way around a circle, so a full circle is 360 degrees. So that's going to be our new magic number. So from this point all the way around the circle, that would be an arc of 360 degrees. They're going to be named by their endpoints. So just like segments have endpoints, arcs also have endpoints. So this one has L and it has M. The symbol is going to be this little sad face or rainbow, depending on your mood. You can name it arc LM or arc ML because those are the endpoints. And that's the symbol for arc. If you were to go exactly halfway around the circle, that's called a semicircle. That's going to be 180 degrees because 180 is half of 360. So we're going to learn about two different types of arcs. One's going to be less than a semicircle, so less than half the circle. One's going to be more than half the circle. So the first one's called minor arc. So you might have heard the word minor before, right? It means small, little, like a child is a minor. That's going to be an arc that's less than a semicircle. So this guy right here, AB, is less than a semicircle, so that is a minor arc. They're named with two letters, the two endpoints, so you can call it arc, remember the rainbow or the sad face. AB, you also could have named it BA. So I went from A to B this short distance, but you can also go the other way around, right? So here A and B are in the same point, but my arcs are going different directions. I have a little one over on the left, and over on the right, I have a much bigger one. So in order to tell the difference between them, we have to have a different name. So the one on the left we just learned was a minor arc. The one on the right is a major arc, right? Major means bigger, a lot, important. So if you go from A to B the long way, more than a semicircle, more than half the circle, that's called a major arc. So we're going to name them a little differently. We can't name this AB because then we wouldn't be able to tell if I'm talking about this blue part or this black part. So we're going to name it with 3 letters. So far, I only have 2, A and B. So we're going to name it sort of like the minor arc. We're going to start and end with our endpoints. So we can either start with A, end with B, or start with B and end with A. And then we're going to need a letter to be in the middle. So the way we're going to find that is we're going to put a point somewhere on this arc. So I'm going to put a point down here, name it C. I could have put it here, could have put it here, could have put it here, anywhere on the arc. And we're going to put that letter in the middle. So we can name this arc ACB or BCA. All right, so first check-in. So pause this for a second, try to answer the question. Is this a minor or major arc? All right, you should have chosen major. Remember, major means big. So this is more than a semicircle, so this would be a major arc. And then I want you to try to name it. So if you remember, major arcs have 3 letters. They have to start and end with the endpoint. So you could have started with T, ended with X, or started with X and ended with T. The middle letter would be any of these in the middle. So you could have done TUX, TVX, TWX, or the other way, XWT, XVT, or XUT. We don't want to use any of these that aren't on the arc. All right, so here's another one. Is this a minor or major arc? All right, you should have said minor. This is less than a semicircle, it's little. So how would you name it? All right, if you remember, minor arcs only have 2 letters, so you could have named this TR or RT. We don't want to use this S because we only want 2 letters. So arc TR or arc RT. All right, how are we feeling? This is the end for today. So to review, we learned all the lines in a circle, which was a radius, a chord, a diameter, which were line segments. Then we learned a secant and a tangent, which were lines. Then we talked about arcs, minor arcs and major arcs. Minor arcs are small, they're named with 2 letters. Major arcs are big, they're named with 3 letters. So there's going to be an exit ticket for you to fill out at the end of this. If you're not feeling so good, I added some videos to Google Classroom. You can also rewatch this. You can email me any questions you have, or you can join my office hours from 12 to 1. The link is in Google Classroom. Thanks, guys.